it also generates a new revenue stream for farmers. That would have never happened had we not gotten started in this a couple years ago.
Hello and welcome to this edition of the State of Soy. I'm Aaron Putsey and I'm visiting with Tom Adam. Tom farms near the town of Harper in southeastern Iowa, and Tom was recently elected to the executive committee of the Iowa Soybean Association. He serves as a director. Tom, you also serve as the chair of the Information and Education Committee, which is one of 4 committees for the Iowa Soybean Association. First, your interest in serving on the Iowa Soybean Association board. Why?
It's just a very good organization. I thought about this already 20, 25 years ago, and then the kids were young and they just thought, oh, I didn't have time, and I never pursued it any further. And then a friend came up to me and asked me if I would want to be on the board, and told me more about what they're doing, and I thought, you know, this is something I'd really like to get involved in. It's so much more of a broader scope organization than what I realized, and I'm quite pleased with working with them.
Let's also touch on harvest. What were the yields like and overall the performance of the crop this year?
Overall, I'd say in this area we were probably down 20% on yield. More than that on some of the rougher ground, and maybe a little less than that on the good soils. And
what does that translate to yield?
I had a field that went over 200 on corn. Beans, I had a field that did close to 65, which, you know, that's not too bad.
You bet.
But I also had some beans that did 45, and I had some corn that did 145.
And of course, now that you've got a harvest done, Tom, it's all about finding markets for what you grow. And I know part of your leadership and the way that the organization has been driven to deliver for you as a soybean farmer is by exports. Talk a little bit about your interest in exports and your work through organizations like the U.S. Soybean Export Council.
I've done some work with USEC recently, and they do great work with developing new markets. As we see China kind of come in and out of our market, we're developing more diverse markets in many other parts of the world. Southeast Asia in particular is an area where I visited recently, and we have what they call soy excellence centers there, where we have a 3-day course. It's kind of transitioning to mostly being online, where we train people how to feed pigs or chickens or fish, feed mill operators. We give them a certification for doing that. You don't think of a certificate meaning much around here, but in the parts of the world where there's very few college degrees, such a certificate really brings value to them in the workplace.
I know something else, Tom, that's really important to you is not only producing and marketing soy, but also on the environmental front too. Speak to the Soil and Water Outcomes Fund, which I know is another project that you're involved in.
Yes, I'm very proud of our board involvement in getting that established. It develops better outcomes on the farm for soil health and water quality, and also carbon sequestration. I've gotten involved with it on my own farm, mostly to see what it was about, but it also generates a new revenue stream for farmers.
Well, and it just received a $95 million grant courtesy of the USDA, which again, Tom, speaks to the foresight of the board for establishing the program.
Yes, that would have never happened had we not gotten started in this a couple years ago. And so this $95 million is over a 10-year period that we can use that to pay out to farmers. That's pretty significant.
Yeah, and again, the Soil and Water Outcomes Fund will be the deliverer of that grant to farmers. And again, just a variety of ways that when we say the Iowa Soybean Association is driven to deliver, it truly is. Reporting from Harper, Iowa, and the farm of Tom Adam, I'm Aaron Putsey.
My name is Will Corman with Tri-C Farms in Hardy, Nebraska. Data became a huge thing 10 years ago, and they just slowly been building more and more, collecting it. So the big question is, well, how are you gonna get that data to work for you? With the crop insurance side of it, the one way to make that data work for you is take that yield data and that planting data and plug that in. You build up that database through yield history, then obviously that's gonna help your bottom line as far as helping you sleep at night by having those guarantees a little higher.